Generative AI is basically changing many things we do at TransPerfect. I would say that it's changing everything, or it will change everything in the future.
Of course, it makes possible some things that weren't possible before, and it's having a very wide-ranging impact. But it complements the tools that we've been developing at TransPerfect already for decades.
I would say generative AI really has a lot of different kinds of impacts that it is already having on TransPerfect, and can also continue to have on the way that the company operates. Maybe the most immediate way is obviously just the general kind of benefits that we see artificial intelligence being able to bring. So here we're talking about things like making deliveries more efficient, right? So bringing greater efficiency to things like translation workflows. Another important one is automation, right? Any way that we can take manual, painful tasks kind of away, or at least alleviate partially the amount of human effort that's required by bringing artificial intelligence in, that's a major win. And I think that that's one way that we can not only maybe be more efficient as a company and kind of use artificial intelligence so to speak, intelligently, but then also bring that to the different kinds of solutions that we can offer to customers.
It can be the most revolutionary technology in the world, but it's not going to have such a wide-ranging effect that it changes everything that came before it. I think pitting generating in language against translation is a false dichotomy, because when you get down to it, there is no way to translate directly. We're always, as translators, as linguists, we're always re-expressing the idea, the sentiment, the main feeling of the content in another language.
I think one thing that's important to consider are that just like any artificial intelligence application, there are certainly limitations that exist right now with generative AI, including with large language models. And so that type of approach, meaning creating content directly in language, might not be the best for every single use case.
What we are seeing in reality with many customers is that the actual content quality varies significantly per language. English is significantly better because these large language models have been trained on the content on the internet, so English is basically the first language on the internet. But if you move to languages like Chinese or Japanese, or hard languages with low resource like Hungarian, then the results that you get are really worse, significantly worse.
Where generative AI and where large language models tend to perform really, really well is on content that might need a more creative, more adaptive, more fluent approach than what's possible with more traditional types of natural language processing, so like machine translation. And that's where it excels. And this is the type of use case where maybe we do see a lot of value in using large language models to create content directly in language. But if you have something that maybe just needs a more direct one-to-one translation, you might not necessarily need that very creative, that very adaptive approach. And so each use case merits its own discovery and merits its own unique solution. And that might not always involve using something like a large language model, although we are certainly seeing the number and the variety of use cases evolve and grow as the technology advances.
Oh, absolutely not. No, you always need that. You always need specialists. You always need the experts. And TransPerfect is an agency full of experts. We have experts in every content type, in every language. And I think the role of these experts is as critical now as it always has been. I don't see that going away.
Everyone needs to evolve. To me, they will be needed and everyone still be needed, but maybe the roles will change down the line. We will see an evolution of what people are doing in their everyday work because of AI. But that's also an opportunity, and especially in language with translators and copywriters, they can help build better AI solutions for particular customers or for TransPerfect, and that's a very important task as well.
While the pace of improvement and while the pace of growth and change is quickening, I don't think that necessarily means that humans are totally obsolete or that humans are not needed. And in fact, I think more than ever, and in order to kind of enhance the value and the performance that we can get from large language models, we rely more than ever now on humans with that specialized knowledge and with that level of expertise to guide us in the right direction to kind of crafting models that can not necessarily replace the job that they do, but simply make the job that they do maybe more efficient, help them to do more with less, and help them be more efficient overall.
For me, I feel like AI should be used to augment and increase our capability as humans. Just like having a paper and pencil enables you and empowers you to do mathematical calculations that you couldn't do in your head, AI can similarly extend and enhance our capabilities as humans. You may not be able to multiply 3-digit numbers together in your head, but armed with a pencil and a paper, this system of brain, hand, pencil, paper is capable of that thing that brain alone is not capable of. And I see AI as a tool to really unlock new capabilities in humans.
There's a lot of different ways that we can improve the output quality, and in most cases, the data is key. So here, I mean different data sets that you have available, things like translation memories, we're talking about things like terminology, glossaries, do not translate lists, even things like previously translated websites or documents that can be used as a reference at the time of translation. All of that is really, really good data that can be used to train or to otherwise teach your model to translate more in line with the style and the tone that you're looking for, or in the case of something like generative AI, to actually create content more in line with what it is you're looking for.
Our machine translation technology is really powerful. Our average edit distance, which means the corrections that a translator makes to the machine translation output to bring it to full human quality, is slightly above 10% across all the volume of work that we do. That means that the quality of our neural machine translation engines is excellent, is probably among the best in the market.
So in the world of data science and model creation, there are definitely better and worse models. The best model for you will always be a model trained on your data. Quality estimation is another important tool in our tool belt, because as the volume of data grows, it becomes harder and harder to have people manually reviewing every part. So we have to get smarter about where we spend our time as professionals. So having some understanding of how good or bad a translation is directly when it comes out of the translation model is really important. That allows us to focus our efforts where they're needed and not spend time reviewing things that we already know are good quality.
What's even more exciting is using the output from quality estimation. You can either allow humans to make a manual decision. So somebody looks at the quality estimation score and they say, this is good enough. Maybe that's the end of the process. Or maybe they look at the quality score and they say, you know, based on this, I think I need to send this for human review. That can also be fully automated. So we can work with a system that will make that decision for users and then route the project or the content for the appropriate next step in the workflow based on a criteria like the quality score.
Since the first day that LLMs were available, TransPerfect has been working to see how we can use them effectively in our business. And there are areas where LLMs are better at translating than neural models. For instance, we find in subtitling, the models are often better at handling the colloquial, casual language that we see. But in most of our use cases, our neural models still strongly outperform large language models. While that may change in the next 10 minutes, for now, we see a place still for these specialized translation models.
In our research, ChatGPT is still not at the level of our better trained neural machine translation engines. What we are seeing, for instance, is that into English, it works much better than from English. And then for the larger world languages, ChatGPT can translate very well. but there are issues. There are issues in terms of quality, there are issues in terms of hallucinations, also how you handle tags and other little things in the content. So it's not that it's translating well, it does translate well, and especially for user-generated content into English, for instance, that's a very good use case, but it doesn't mean that it's the solution for all the machine translation problems. So the good thing that we have is we have a team that can help decide which is the best technology or the best solution for that particular content type and language pair, and then we are able to get the best out of both worlds. However, large language models are evolving, and probably the quality will be significantly better in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and probably we will be seeing a lot of large language models that are specialized in translation.
I think in this discussion, one thing that's also important to keep in mind is the way that these different technologies are designed to function and operate. So a very clear way of understanding this is that neural machine translation, as it's in the name, it does what it says on the tin, is designed specifically for the purpose of translation. Whereas large language models, as we know, are designed to do a lot of different types of tasks. So that can include translation, but can also include monolingual, so not necessarily bilingual, but monolingual tasks like content creation, content generation, summarization, extraction, rewriting, etc. And I think one thing that's important to keep in mind here is that by definition or by nature, a neural machine translation model is always going to have bilingual data for its creation. So when it's trained and when it's created, it does so using data that is inherently multilingual. It has different languages involved. And that's important to consider if you're trying to use the model for the task of translation, which is an inherently multilingual task. So I think this is another important consideration to keep in mind for folks who are curious about the differences in terms of what can be expected between a neural machine translation model and maybe something like a large language model specifically for the task of translation.